Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Today, what I want to do is I want to talk about The Prisoner. Not the remake of it, but the actual original series and why it's being promoted on the articles on Metallicman. Those of you who have followed Metallicman know about the domain, alien interview, and the idea and concept that the planet Earth is not an average planet, but really it's a prison planet for some kind of galactic empire. Those of you who are unaware of this, boy, you've got a lot of surprises and turns down the road. But that's neither here nor there, because the information that we're going to be talking about here doesn't matter a hill of beans what you think or what you have read or anything. We're just going to talk in general terms about life. Does it really matter if there's walls and prison guards, or that you feel like you're in prison? And so, let me do a little bit of intro, because I haven't really covered this in the writings and I haven't really elaborated on this. Essentially, in the 1960s, late 1950s, and early 1960s, there was a very popular television show in the UK starring Patrick McGoolaghan. I hope I said his name right. I'm very bad with names. And he became very, very famous because he played this 007 kind of character, a very slick super spy. And the TV show was just super popular. I mean, really super popular at the time. And it made him into a very, very famous person. And the television studio wanted him to continue doing it, but he felt he was being typecast. It was not where he wanted to go in his professional career. So they were going to end the show after I don't know how many seasons, but it was a successful show about a 007. And so Patrick, the actor, came on up and he says, how about we just do a show about what happens next when the 007 secret agent resigns. Let's make a show about what happens. And so, in the first episode, we see the end scenes of the original series, where he resigns as a 007 secret agent, and gas fills the room. And the next thing he knows is he wakes up on this island in this place called the Village. We don't know, really, the viewer really doesn't know what's going on. Is it his organization that retired him to this island? Or was it his enemies who are trying to fool him as a highly valued asset into believing that this is the organization because they want information from him? The whole series of The Prisoner is about trying to break this man who is stuck as a prisoner. Trying to break him. Interrupt his mind, interrupt his thought process. Trying to take what is not obvious. Trying to remove his information. Trying to extract intelligence from him. And so that's why it's being presented here in Metallicman. There isn't any obvious and direct things you can point to because it is done artistically. The show is done artistically and enigmatically, meaning that you can interpret the events based upon your own personal experiences. And to that, I'm discovering that a couple of people, I'll call them followers, a couple of you guys out there who like to read the Metallicman stuff, really are getting a lot out of this. Some are watching it for nostalgic purposes, but others are really absorbing the information here because it causes you to think about situations and what you would do if you were in that situation. And while you're doing that, it triggers other things. It triggers other things and teaches you some important things. And that's why it's on there. I'm going to go through the entire series. It's 2 seasons with so many episodes. I don't know how many total, perhaps 20 to 30 all told. And at the end of every one of the New Beginnings articles, I'm going to include that. I'm going to be doing New Beginnings now for a little bit more time. Sorry about that. I know some of you really want to see more on the poetry and the stories and some other stuff on Q&A and other interesting subjects, such as affirmation campaigns and all that. And those are coming, all right? But, this is a major historic period of time. It's a major historical period of time. This period of time right now will go in the history books, if they're still writing them after World War III. So it's very historical. So, yeah, that's what's going on here. And I know it's turned off a couple of people. I try to mix things up. Firstly, I tried to mix things up in content on the articles because it really threw off the spam bots and troll bots. It really did. I'll tell you what. They literally can't handle it. They really can't. And for those of you who have just jumped in and maybe you missed the very first episode, which is in one of the articles, and I have no idea which article it is, I would imagine it's probably one of the articles in the New Beginnings 4 index. Certainly one of the articles from last week, perhaps. And in episode 1, you'll see that the prisoner wakes up and he discovers he's assigned a house, he's assigned a maid, they consider him very important, and he doesn't have a name. Instead, he has a number. He is number 6. He never gets a straight answer about anything, and the leaders of the village, who seem to be running things, rotate and change every single day. So it's very hard for him to get a handle on what's going on. He doesn't understand it. Each episode describes some very strange and enigmatic events. Some of them may be useless to you guys, and some might be very, very significant. And that's pretty much the reason why I include this television show in the Metallicman articles. I haven't had anybody complain about the food aspects. These are food items that I really like or would like to make. Some of them, many of them, some of them, I haven't been able to make because I can't get the ingredients here in China. Other ones I've done substitutes. Um, I'm not making any videos of me making any food because honestly, a lot of times they don't turn out as good as I would like. I'm doing something wrong. Maybe it's the temperatures, maybe it's the humidity in the air, maybe I don't know what it is. But all of these are great. A lot of these things you'll notice are traditional American staples or foreign staples. But the American staples are stuff that I grew up with. You go to a diner, get a blueberry pie, that recipe's there. You go to a diner, get a good cherry pie, it's there. Apple strudel, crumble cake, goes great with coffee. I should probably have some right here now. Cheese, you know how hard it is to get cheese in China? It's difficult and very expensive, but you can make your own. Aside from it being a fun pastime, cooking and making your own stuff, it's economical. As food prices are going up and up and up, you can go ahead and make a whole bunch of big batches of food. Go old school, like my mom used to do. She was a stay-at-home mom. Go old school. She took care of finances and domestic, made sure all of us were fed. Go old school. If you're getting older or you're on a pension or on fixed income and investments, go old school. Make some stuff up. Now I have to tell you, for those of you who don't know, if you're making bread, you got to eat it that day. It does not preserve well. And wrapping it in aluminum foil isn't going to do anything. It's still going to get hard, okay? But having fresh bread, oh lordy, 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 that's the shit, guys. That's the shit. Stand mixers, man, if you've got one, we used to make one at Sunbeam Oster that was outstanding. I had about 5 or 6 of them in my house. Since I moved, of course, all my appliances are gone. But I had some great stuff there. We used to make them to be like tanks. Good high quality motors, solid cords and everything. And then during the 1990s, there was a movement to more profits, more profits, more profits, more profits, more profits. So we kept on cutting down the quality of all the items. And when I talk about cutting down the quality, I don't mean, I literally mean that. It might cost 1 penny, a fraction of a quid, just a real cheap little part. We'd remove that because if you multiply it by 3 million, it translates to a couple of dollars. And we just were cutting costs left and right, using cheap everything. So if you can get a hold of some older appliances, they work great. If they break down, they're easy to repair. For you DIY handy people, or for you people who are out there who has a local repair person or fellow or uncle or friend that can do that. It's not that hard. So yeah, food is one of the leading reason why people read the articles now. Especially, the cream soups, like a cream of asparagus or something like that. Good stuff. Of course, the whole purpose was to tabulate some very interesting intel articles and opinion pieces that reflects the time of during this upheaval, this period of change and upheaval. And and that's why I put them in there. And as soon as I started putting these articles in, troll bots started saturating my comments. Stopped all of them. The only way I can control those troll bots was to mix up pretty girls, history pictures, food, all kinds of other subjects. The Trollbots don't use an algorithm to attack Metallicman now. I'm off their grid. They can't see me. I'm transparent to them. They go, oh, the Trollbot says, Ukraine and soup and pretty girls. Okay, pass this one. You know? They can't even see it. So that's what got me started here for mixing all the articles together. And like I said, most of the content, I hope you all read it. Some people skim read. It's kind of hard to skim read Metallicman and really get anything out of it, honestly. I purposely try to remove the dry stuff out. If you can't understand it within the first paragraph, or the guy has these 2 or 3 paragraph long articles, I have to personally edit them. I have to break down these run-on sentences that are size of a paragraph and break them down. And then it's far easier to read and more enjoyable. And that's kind of what I do as the editor. And interspersed with all this stuff is my thoughts and stuff regarding to, the events that are going on. I've got a Q&A with the commander coming up. This is 11, I believe. This is 11. For those of you who are interested in that aspect. Metallicman is not necessarily about my conversations with the commander. It's about all kinds of stuff. And it appeals to some people and it doesn't to others. I recommend that you read the stuff. If it appeals to you, good for you. If it doesn't, just move on. There's such a wide diversity of people that come to the site and visit these places. I really want to make it as a friendly and welcoming and understood environment for all people, regardless of your personal interests, whether you're in the urban areas or whether you're in the country areas. I think we all have good things to put to the table. Now, some of the stuff, the problem with me, and I've got a problem. I got lots of problems, but I got a problem. And one of my problems is that I'm too damn emotional about certain subjects. I really am. And that's because of my background and everything. And yesterday I did a video about the missing children of China. I'm not saying, well, I said everything in the video, but the point that I'm trying to make is I didn't cover in the video how the notion that there's so many missing children got into people's minds. What happened was China put up a system of a one-child policy. Okay? They did that back in 1977. And that was the establishment of the hukou that I've already talked about. And when that was established, everybody was registered and you could track it. Those that were born and were not registered were suddenly classified as missing children. The West took this as China is killing people and missing children and they're not accounted for, and that goes, they completely went off the grid. When in reality, nobody's really missing at all. Instead, these missing children ended up getting identities with other families. Using my wife as an example, she was born and during the period of the single child rule. She was a first child and she was a all girl. course, in China, you want boys. So they gave her to another family. And she was raised up until she was in third grade in this other family. Then when the rules mediated somewhat, she was able to get her hukou. And in her case, she ended up getting her own hukou, not part of her family's hukou, which was advantageous for her. And it was very helpful later on in her life. So that's the origin of all these missing children. Now, when I made the video, of course, I'm being me, and I'm a little emotional, and I'm talking about systems in place. And basically, the entire thing that I took and ran with it, was that, you know, everything's under observation here. It's damn hard to kidnap people. And I showed you examples of how the community says, hey, that girl shouldn't be with that guy. I'm going to check. And they get on their phone and they go to this stuff. Society, community, be part of it. It's very, very important, you know. So yeah, there's so much bullshit in the West. They take a little thing, blow it way out of proportion, fill it with lies, and then you're expected to react to it. In that case, I'm expected to react about missing millions of children in China, coming from somebody who is in the child trafficking region of Southeast Asia. And so I got a little bit hot under the collar. Not so much the guy. I think he's a pretty decent guy. I would really love to have a beer with him. Or something else. We could maybe go to I've been wanting to go to some of those sudsy places, you know. But it you know, it'd be really cool. But the point is that he's like all of you, and like me, we're easily manipulated by those trying to manipulate us. Especially they use our passions, our compassion for other people. Emotional for me because of the way I was retired from Majestic. Okay? Emotional for me. You want to talk about sex trafficking and prostitutes and all that kind of stuff. When I was retired from Majestic, I was a Boy Scout. I was a good guy. I didn't do shit. It wasn't until after I was in prison and then thrown into a parole situation where I was living all around prostitutes and stuff that I got exposed to this kind of life. And that life that I was exposed to has no bearing or resembles anything to like what's in China. It's totally different. So I get a little bit hot under the collar because it's a personal thing to me. Those of you who have read my retirement sequence know full well that embedded within my personality is a protection for the weak, the children, and the little kittens of the world. I can't stop it, I can't help it. But you know, that's my compassion. But still at the same time, guys, it's very easy for other people to pull at your heartstrings and move you around and manipulate you. So you got to be careful for that. So in these various articles and the videos and everything, you kind of get this massive, disjointed smorgasbord of information and data and pleasures and stuff, and I want to keep it that way. Controls the trolls. But sometimes people, you might not want to look at the ugliest car in the world, or a classic car might not appeal to you. It's okay, just look at the pictures and scroll on down. I'm trying to mix things up with subjects that I find interesting and you like. I will tell you it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. If you think I can throw this stuff together in 5 minutes, I got news for you. This stuff takes time. And I'm doing my best. And I hope you guys benefit from it. I know I got a lot of viewers out there all over the world. I am surprised the number of viewers and readers that come out of Australia, for God's sakes. Not so much out of the United States, but a lot out of Australia. I'm really actually pretty stunned. Nobody that I know is from New Zealand, but man, I get a lot out of Australia. And right now, it's getting to be fall there, so it's finally cooling off. People, I gotta tell you, Australia in the summer is hot. Beautiful beaches, man. And don't you dare go near spiders and snakes in Australia. They will kill you, I tell you what. I was really upset with this Morrison guy. So you got this other guy, he kicked Morrison out. And this other guy came into there. He's part of the, the Liberal Party? Conservative Party? I forget. So they got a new guy here. And so I'm thinking, okay, finally we're getting rid of this Morrison, charismatic, Christian, Pentecostal, who knows what the fuck he is. Got rid of him, like, okay, we're going to get somebody else. And the first thing he does is he said, we're going to continue the Morrison policies. And I'm like, that's democracy for you, right? You don't like this guy, so you vote him out and you get another guy, and he says, I'm going to continue his policies. If there's one thing we're learning during this period of change and upheaval, is that democracies are a lie. You cannot change policies through voting. I wish some of you Aussies out there would probably correct me in my point of view, because I'm not in Australia. I haven't been in Australia in a couple of decades. Did you know that I actually tried to immigrate to Australia? I had all the paperwork done. I had to come up with all the places I lived and all the jobs I had and all kinds of stuff. I was doing this. I was in my late 30s. It was in the 1990s, and I was all gung-ho for it. And then my wife then started getting mentally ill, and the stuff just sat there on the desk, and other things came up. Her medical reports started piling on top of it, and over time, it just kind of goes to the bottom of the pile, and other things took over. But if it wasn't for her, I probably would be an Australian citizen right now. I loved that place. I lived in a place called Campsie, as a suburb of Sydney. Not the nicest place of Sydney, but I thought it was great. Perhaps it was the novelty of a new place. You know what I mean? The novelty, how it's novel and new. And but in my mind, I just thought it was the shit. I mean, one giant prawn. God, they had me hooked. And the women, they had these manes of hair. I was told that there was a bunch of Greeks and Italians that immigrated to Australia back when. And they had these big manes of hair. And the women, man, they didn't put them in a bun. They let them out. Big head of hair. That's appealing to me, I'll tell you what. And I was living in the Midwest at the time, and it was just like night and day. The music on the radio was the local pop, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed going running and getting taxis all the time in Sydney. I thought that the waiters and waitresses were a bit surly. I mean, little rude, if that makes any sense. And they didn't know what ketchup was. I had to have one of my local friends come on over, ask the waitress for sauce. She's like, "Why do you want sauce on your potatoes, your French fries?" But I really enjoyed the environment. I thought those little $2 coins were pretty damn cool. But like I said, things come and go. There's so much going for Australia. There's so much going for Australia. Why do you let such idiots? I mean, well, I don't actually. Probably it's because maybe their hands are tied. Maybe their hands are completely tied. They just go through the motions of being a parliamentary democracy, when in reality they're just a Sacerni. Maybe, huh? Anyways, as far as the prisoner is concerned, I think all of us, with a very small exception, are prisoners in society in one way or the other. Whether it's trapped under 9 years of a replacement for Morrison, or in Australia, or whether it's the fact that you're on a alien-controlled prison planet. Whatever it may be, where all of us are trapped in these environments. It might be a spouse who has mental illness, or it might be a situation. I know a lot of the readership right now feels a little bit trapped, or feels a little bit like the world is spinning out of control. I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to say this for those of you who your life seems to be going out of control right now. If you had done affirmation campaigns, your life should be feeling this way right now, because it's changing. You'll get through this change and you will emerge on the other side better. I promise you that. The bigger the change, the harsher the change will feel when you're going through it. For some, like DM, his entire life is upended. Literally. PL went through and is now on a completely different lifestyle track. Everybody goes through these events. So calm down. Watch the videos of the prisoner. Enjoy yourself. If you get nothing from it and you're like, "Oh, it's just stupid," fine. It's just fine. Okay, it's fine. Just have a good time with it, all right? And if you guys got a chance, try some of his recipes, okay? I've been trying to pick out the easy ones. I know there's a couple of cooks in the audience that are really chefs. I mean, not cooks, chefs. You guys have abilities I don't have. So I put some easy stuff down there. But if you haven't had a Monte Cristo sandwich, try it. Try to eat, home-cooked meals. You, your spouse, your family, sit down, have a good meal. I know there are those people who don't drink out there, but can I suggest getting some ginger beer? It's non-alcoholic. But try some of that. Spice up your meal a little bit. And with that, people, you know the drill. I just want you guys to do well. Be part of your community. Go forth and make friends. Let people know who you are. Do little things, Rufus-like behaviors. Clean up a little bit around the house. Be helpful. If you see an older person that can't pay for a meal, you pay for it for them. Have somebody struggling making groceries, you pay their meal, pay for it. And that's it. Say, hey, no problem. When you have money, pay it forward. Be nicer. Be more helpful to other people. Try to control your passions. Don't be so radical. A lot of the African Americans that I know, and I love them to death, make no mistake, but I gotta tell you, they're more emotional than me, and I'm a pretty emotional person. They cross this barrier, and they're very emotional. Try to control your passions, guys. Don't let the passions drag you into a place you don't want to be, okay? No matter how justified it is, control your passions. Be a guiding light to others around you that have strong passions. Be helpful. Be kind. Be good to dogs and cats and the critters in the environment around you. And you'll be fine. Stick around with a little bit of traditional values, like having a larder, with some food stored. Try to ride a bicycle more. Get a little bit more exercise, some fresh air. It's fun. It's fun. Because, people, your life is changing, and you are the few that's going to get through it. And remember, people, I believe in you.
没有尽头，风景在身后走，偶尔停下来片刻，放轻松，深呼吸。海天连一线，看隐藏都不远，离开城市了，发现一张崭新的脸。快乐不需要找 WiFi， 歌声在风里飞很快，追过来是爱。蔚蓝的天空在 say hi， 偶尔有眼泪也无害。I say hi， 我还想要再更嗨更嗨。想摆在窗外，散漫期待，你要不要一起来？你要不要一起来？把心里打开，就听见天籁，想要的统统找回来。我今天要自由，明天也要自由，我们都爱自由，自由，自由，生活就该自由。我今天要自由。我的好朋友，如果你感同身受，你会明白我自己的生活。我想要更多。
来抖音极速版看视频领现金。